Welcome back to the Following Films podcast. Today's episode might challenge a few assumptions, and that's kind of the point. We're talking about Heated Rivalry, a story that's often labeled as not for straight men. It's a romance written largely for women, shaped by the female gaze, and centered on an intense relationship between two men. So why are we bringing it up here? Because it opens the door to a much bigger conversation about curiosity, desire, and what it actually means to be a good partner. This episode isn't about changing who you're attracted to or telling anyone what they should like. It's about asking better questions. Why do our partners love these stories? What are they getting from them emotionally? And what can we learn when we step outside media that's been made exclusively for us? We'll talk about how curiosity strengthens relationships, how emotional connection is often at the core of attraction, and why engaging with stories written for the female gaze can give straight men a clearer understanding of what many women want, and often don't feel safe asking for directly. So whether you've watched Heated Rivalry, heard about it in passing, or dismissed it outright, stay with us. This conversation isn't really about a show. It's about attention, empathy, and how listening sometimes in unexpected ways can help make you a better partner. Big thanks to Lucia F. O'Sullivan for her article, The Many Subtle Ways Women Signal Romantic Interest, and Martha Couple for her article, Consent is a Process. At first glance, Heated Rivalry, a story centered on an intense, emotionally charged relationship between two men, might not seem like obvious viewing for straight men. It is often marketed towards women, frequently discussed in fandom spaces dominated by the female gaze, and openly romantic in ways that many men have been taught to see as not for them. Yet that assumption is exactly why straight men should give it a chance. Not because it will change their sexuality, and not because it asks them to abandon who they are, but because it offers a powerful opportunity to understand desire, intimacy, and partnership from a perspective they rarely encounter. Watching something written primarily for women, and for emotional rather than purely visual consumption, can be surprisingly eye-opening. It can help straight men better understand what their partners enjoy, why they enjoy it, and how emotional connection often sits at the center of attraction. More broadly, it can encourage curiosity, a quality that strengthens relationships far more than certainty ever could. The value of curiosity in relationships. Curiosity is one of the most undervalued traits in romantic partnerships. Many straight men grow up absorbing the idea that competence, confidence, and certainty are what make them good partners. Curiosity, by contrast, can feel risky. Asking questions means admitting that you do not already know the answers, yet relationships thrive on exactly that openness. Being curious about what your partner likes, what stories resonate with them, what emotions draw them in, what kinds of intimacy feel meaningful, is a form of care. It signals that you see them as an evolving person rather than a problem you've already solved. Watching Heated Rivalry with that mindset is not about evaluating whether you personally find it appealing, but about understanding why someone else might. When a partner says they love a story like this, they're often responding to more than just surface-level attraction. They're responding to emotional tension, vulnerability, longing, and the slow burn of connection. Curiosity allows you to look beyond, "this isn't for me," and instead ask, what is this giving them? The phrase female gaze is sometimes misunderstood. It's not simply the inverse of the male gaze, nor is it about objectifying men in the same way women have often been objectified. Instead, stories written for the female gaze tend to prioritize emotional context, interiority, and relational dynamics. Desire is not separated from feelings, it grows out of them. Heated Rivalry exemplifies this. The appeal lies not in just who the two characters are, but in how they see each other, how they struggle with vulnerability, and how intimacy develops alongside emotional risk. For many women, this kind of storytelling reflects how attraction works in real life. It's not instantaneous or purely visual. It's layered, psychological, and deeply tied to trust. For straight men, engaging with media shaped by the female gaze can challenge long-standing assumptions about what people find attractive. It can broaden the understanding of desire beyond physicality and performance, toward presence, attention, and probably most importantly, emotional honesty. Why a story about two men can be especially insightful. Some straight men hesitate at the idea of watching a romance between two men, assuming it has nothing to do with them. In reality, this is precisely why it makes it useful. By removing the familiar female-male dynamic, Heated Rivalry strips away many of the gendered expectations that often obscure emotional truths. When neither character is the woman in the relationship, viewers are invited to focus more clearly on communication, power, vulnerability, and mutual desire. The story highlights how intimacy is negotiated, how pride and fear get in the way of honesty, and how emotional growth is often uncomfortable but necessary. For straight men, this can be liberating. It offers a chance to observe relationship dynamics without immediately inserting themselves into a defensive or performative role. Instead of asking, "Am I supposed to be like this?" they can ask, "What is actually happening emotionally here?" That distance can make insight easier. It's important to understand why your partner likes it. When women gravitate towards stories like Heated Rivalry, it's rarely because they want a literal replication of what they see on screen. More often, they're drawn to the emotional architecture of the relationship, the tension, the yearning, the sense of being deeply seen. Many women experience daily life in a world where their desires are often minimized, misunderstood, or flattened into stereotypes. Media written for them can feel like a space where desire is treated with care rather than judgment. Watching them and engaging with that media alongside your partner can be a way of saying, "Your inner world matters to me." You do not have to love the same thing your partner does, but understand why they love them can make them feel known. That sense of being known is one of the strongest predictors of relationship satisfaction. So let's look at emotional literacy and masculinity. Another reason Heated Rivalry can be valuable for straight men is its emphasis on emotional literacy. The characters wrestle with fear, pride, longing, vulnerability, emotions that many men are taught to suppress or minimize. Seeing these emotions taken seriously rather than mocked or dismissed, can subtly challenge restrictive ideas of masculinity. This does not mean abandoning strength or confidence. It means expanding the definition of strength to include honesty, emotional awareness, and the courage to be seen. Many women find these qualities deeply attractive, even if they are not always articulated as such. By engaging with stories that center on emotional experience, straight men can gain language for feelings they may already have but struggle to express. That alone can transform communication in a relationship, from consumption to conversation. Watching Heated Rivalry does not have to be a solitary or silent experience. In fact, its greatest value may come afterwards, in conversation. Asking your partner what scenes resonated, what characters felt compelling, or what emotions stood out opened the door to deeper understanding. These conversations do not need to be heavy or analytical, simply curiosity. What do you like about that? Can lead to insights about how your partner experiences desire, conflict, and connection. Over time, this kind of dialogue builds emotional intimacy that carries over into everyday life. Importantly, this curiosity should be genuine, not strategic. The goal is not to extract tips or perform what you think the partner wants, but to understand them as a person. Authentic interest is far more meaningful than perfect execution, and you can broaden your taste without losing yourself. Some men may worry that engaging with media outside their usual tastes threatens their identity. In reality, broadening your perspective does not erase who you are, it enriches it. You can enjoy action movies, sports, or traditionally masculine genres, and still make room for romantic stories written for women. Being secure enough to explore unfamiliar perspectives is a form of confidence, not a lack of it. It signals comfort with yourself and respect for others' experiences. That confidence is often more attractive than rigid adherence to a narrow definition of masculinity. So, in thinking about this show and my experience in watching it, I thought of it in the end as an act of care. And I think other straight men should view it that way as well. You watch the show not because it's required, but because it offers an opportunity to practice curiosity, to better understand the female gaze, and to see intimacy framed through emotional connection rather than conquest. It's a reminder that desire is not just about bodies. but about being known, challenged, and chosen. In relationships, effort is not measured by grand gestures, but by attention. Watching something your partner loves, even if it's not immediately for you, is a small but meaningful act of care. It says, I want to understand you better. And in the long run, that willingness to understand may be the most attractive quality of all. Or, for a guy like me, with a face like this, I fucking hope so. Thanks for listening.